All right, this week I'm going to continue the lifting series. The last couple weeks I've talked about the full body split and push pull leg split. So this week I'm going to talk about what's known as the bro split, and that split is pretty much what you do is one body part per each per day. So like for instance, if you're doing say Sunday through Friday, what you do is chest one day, then you switch to back, then you go to legs, you do shoulders, biceps, and triceps each on a separate day. So this one, its biggest flaw is the lack of frequency. The biggest strength, though, it has is the amount of volume you're doing per session. So like it kind of makes up for like the lack of frequency in the volume. So it's like one of those things for instance, with any flow like a split you do, you're going to sit there and have to look at your frequency versus volume. So like the more frequency that you're doing something, the less volume you're doing per session. So like in a sense, like last week with the push pull legs, what you're doing is like you're doing two push workouts, two pull workouts, and two leg workouts. So like you're getting a couple times for your session. So your frequency is a lot bigger than your typical bro split, but the volume for those sessions are slightly lower because you're getting more frequency. So the concept like the bro split is you're going in and annihilating each muscle groups. Like for instance, like if like you're doing a push workout, you're getting chest and triceps. So like for instance, you might do say 3 exercises for chest for like 6 sets each for a total of 18 sets, and you might do a couple of exercises for your triceps and do maybe 6 sets per exercise for 12 sets type of deal. But with the bro split, what you're doing is you're splitting those up and doing them separately. So for instance, your chest, you might instead of doing those 3 or 4 exercises twice a week or whatever, what you're doing now is you're probably doing 6, 7 exercises, but doing maybe the same 6 set concept and everything. So for instance, like on a push workout, what you would do is maybe you do a barbell bench press. You probably do flies where you're taking dumbbells and you're flying them together type of deal. And then you for a third one you do a chest squeeze with a dumbbell. So you probably do like I mentioned 6 sets of each of those exercises twice a week. So you get 18 sets over the course of a week. But with the bro split, since you're only hitting your chest once a week, you kind of have, in a sense, have to up your volume. So you're getting in this at least the same amount of volume because your frequency is lower. So like for instance, you'd still do for instance the 3 exercises mentioned. You'd still do your barbell bench press, your dumbbell fly, and your dumbbell squeeze, doing the same kind of concept of doing 6 sets. Now you do add in maybe another 3 exercises. Maybe you then after you get those first 3, you then do sit there and you do dumbbell bench press for 6 sets, and then you can go from there where maybe you're doing chest dips where the bar I have up here some have a setup where you can actually sit there and do dips, and you kind of lean forward and actually dip down so you can get your chest, because the more you dip forward, bend forward and dip down, the more you get your chest, and the more upright you do the dips, the more you're getting your triceps. So you could add in dips, and then also you could add in a body weight exercise your push-ups, and there's a bunch of variations that you can also add in for push-ups as well. So to make, like I mentioned, to make up for the lack of frequency with the bro split, you're going to have to up the volume to make sure you're getting in the amount of volume per muscle group. And it's the same concept with a back exercise or back workout versus a pull workout. The pull workout would be same kind of concept with a push workout, except you're just doing back and biceps and everything. So for instance, for back exercises, what you could do is they both get a vertical pull and a vertical pull. You do the pull up, and a horizontal pull, you'd be doing a barbell row. So you could again using the 6 set concept, you could do those 2, and then plus you could probably do a chest supported row as a third exercise. So you're getting on the bench, you're laying on the bench, and you're taking the dumbbells and you're doing a row like that. Or of course you can also, like, if you have access to the gym, you can also do stuff like a T-bar row, and so like you can vary it up with the exercises. And so like for instance, like you do those like three exercises or four for like using the same six set concept and everything. You do those three exercises like twice a week. But like again with the bro split, since you're only hitting your back once, you'd probably do those three exercises, like the pull ups, the bar, like the barbell bent over row, and like plus like the chest supported row, and then you add in a bunch of other exercises. So there's like also like the pullover where you take a dumbbell and like you hold it like in your hand, and then like you're pulling it over. So it also depends on like how you're holding your elbows. So like the more wider out you go, the more you're like getting your back. So you could do like a wide pull out, pull over, and pull it up, and so you're getting more of your lats. And if you move your elbows in, then to do like the pull over, more focus on your chest and everything. So like there's those exercises that you could do also for like your uh, chest workout and your back workout. So like, the biggest thing, like with of course with the bro split, like I mentioned, is that you kind of have to increase the volume per session because you're only hitting everything once a week. So the whole idea behind a bro split is you go in and you sit there and you like annihilate the muscle groups. Like yeah, again, like using the chest example, you sit there and you just do like an insane amount of volume for your chest. So that way, like you pretty much feel sore. Now they say like you don't necessarily want to chase soreness and everything because that's not necessarily an indication of progress and everything. But using the example of soreness, like you pretty much are like sore for the whole week and everything, and like the whole DOMS, the late onset muscle soreness, you're like you get to the point where like you get the whole week to recover from the insane amount of volume you're doing per session and everything. So it makes up like the whole week kind of makes up to be able to recover from each subsequent workout that you do. So like for instance, like the pillar number four is recovery. So like with the concept of like the bro split is like each day like you're annihilating a particular muscle group, and you're giving yourself a whole week to recover from that insane amount of volume. Whereas like with your other splits, like your push pull legs or your like full body split, you're lowering the volume, so don't necessarily need as much recovery in between each subsequent workout. So that way, that's why you can do more frequency per group per muscle group when you're doing a split like that. Now, it like of course all the lifting splits are kind of arbitrary because like do all of them work? Yes and no. Yes, in that like they do work because there's a lot of people that like do go in and like they can like for instance the bro split that I'm talking about, they people can go in there and like just hammer away like for like a month or two and actually see progress with the bro split or whatever. And the same goes on the other side of that, no, because sometimes some people don't necessarily respond to that amount of lack of frequency. So it depends on like your approach and like how you respond to each particular split. So like there's no cut and dry like this is the way and only this way, and like this way is better than that. Always you have to sit there and play around with these lift and splits and everything. So like getting back to like the full body split, like that's a great one to start with, so you can get into like used to the movement patterns, you get used to the exercises, you can get used to like the machines, the free weights, and like be able to get experience and everything. So that's a great starting point, especially if you're new, not only to lifting but getting to the gym and being physically active. So that way, like I said, it gets you that experience, so you kind of have the like the base of like, oh yeah, I like when you move on to like your other splits, you can like, yeah, I've done this exercise before, so maybe I can build on like for instance, like what I did when I first started was I was using the machines, and so then like I got my confidence up to the point where I could move on into the free weights and be like, okay, well it's the same kind of similar movement pattern. Like for instance, like you're using like a machine to do like pretty much like a press and everything. So like I go into the free weight room and I lay down on a bench, and like it's pretty much the same type of movement. with just a different piece of equipment. So like a big thing, like of course, is that you don't necessarily want to change up your split week to week. So you don't want to sit here like this week you did a full body split, and then oh, next week I'm going to set myself up for a push pull leg split, and then like the week after that you do this bro split that I was mentioning today. What you want to do is you give yourself like a chunk of time to actually get used to and progress in that specific split that you're doing. So like for instance, like when you're starting off with like a full body split, you probably want to stay with it for like 3 months, so that way you can sit there and slowly increase the weight. Especially if you're first starting out and you're using machines, you want to get to sit there and progress up. So like each week, maybe you like 1 week you add 5 pounds onto the bench machine that I was mentioning. The following the third week you probably add like to say you up the reps from 12 reps per set to 15 reps per set. So you want to do it for a specific amount of time, more than probably like 1 to 3 months would probably be a good way to start and everything. Because I mentioned like Athlete X, most of his programs, which I have there, most of his programs are 3 months long. He does have NXT programs that are 1 month long, so they're kind of like little like sprints type of deals. So usually like the way I'm sure like a lot of people in Team Athlete and myself will say like if you're getting into that, I would say start with AX1, which is a full body split, and then progress into AX2, and then after that'll give you like a good 6 months of experience of that mode of training. Then you can move on into like the other programs, like the NXT programs, like I mentioned, that are 1 month, and all the others are 3 months. So this way it gives you like a way to progress, so you're not just like all of a sudden bouncing back and forth and kind of like a kid in the candy store where you're going from split to split or program to program. It gives you like a structure over several months, because like the progress isn't necessarily made day to day or week to week. It's you see the long term progress from month to month and year to year. So for instance, uh, people that step up on the stage for Mr. Olympia, yes, they are using steroids, and I'm someone who won't touch steroids, because being someone who has abused alcohol in the past, and plus that won't necessarily give me the results that I feel would be natural, because I'd be like, oh yeah, I gained an extra 30 pounds of muscle, but I did it with steroids. Whereas like if I gained an extra 15 pounds of muscle without it, it would be much more of an achievement. So with them, bodybuilders, it usually takes most of them that you see step on stage are in their early mid 30s. So in a sense, and they've been lifting for 10, 15 years. So even with the steroid use, it takes years, if not decades, to get to that point to be able to build a lot of muscle. So that's why it's not necessarily a good idea week to week to bounce back and forth between splits and everything. So 3 month is usually a good general term to start with and everything. So like you do, like I mentioned, 3 months of full body, then you go to 3 months of like push pull legs, and then you do 3 months of this bro split that I mentioned today. So that way it gives you more data points when you're lifting, because it gives you more progress instead of like for instance I mentioned 1 week you up the weights on the machine by 5 pounds, and the following week you up the reps from say maybe 12 to 15, and you keep adding like a week in and week out, and like you can see it gives you more a clearer picture of progress, because it gives you more data points, especially like if you're writing down. So I got a handy dandy notebook that old school, so I'll sit here and kind of write down my workouts and everything that I'll be doing for that day. So I'm kind of old school and I do it that way. Now you can use apps there's one that I've used before called JFit, that you can sit there and add in exercises, and you can add the number of reps and sets that you can do, and the rest time. And rest time is another thing that you want kind of want to play around, because the lower the rest time, the more muscular endurance you're building, and the longer the rest time, the more strength you're building. So for instance, with powerlifters, you'll see them maybe bench 300 pounds, and they'll take like a 2 or 3 minute rest time so they can go back and do like a bench 300 bench press, but they'll be doing the concept with that is doing heavy amounts of weights but lower reps, and like you're having a lot longer rest time. So that's another thing that you have to like also take into consideration is like your rest time in between each set. So like getting back to the bro split, like to cap this off, is like the bro split is like the concept of like a hitting one body part once a week with an insane amount of volume, because your lack of frequency that you see versus your other splits like the that I mentioned, like the full body, which you can usually get like 3 sessions in a week, and the push pull legs, which you can get 2 sessions in with each particular workout. Whereas like the bro split, its frequency is like once a week, but that's the drawback to it. But like I've said, the advantage to that is like you're doing like an insane amount of volume per workout to make up for that lack of frequency. And so I'll reiterate that like with lifting splits, it's something you're going to have to work on and build experience with and spend time with each split. Like I've mentioned, like these 3 months being like a good starting point to see progress. And so like you also want to make sure that like you're not just, like I've mentioned before, bouncing back and forth between splits. And again, the more you go through like and not just with lifting but with any particular like a mode of like a physical activity doing, the more you do it, the more experience you're going to get, and like the more you're able to like tweak things and everything. So like now like I push pull legs personally is kind of my favorite type of split, but we also want to make sure that we're not necessarily playing favorites with splits, because then you tend to bias towards that type of training. And it's the same kind of concept with like training muscle groups, and like you don't necessarily want to have favorites because you tend to bias like towards that. So like for instance, like yes, I do like training legs, and that's usually my favorite and everything. But knowing that, and like it's okay to have like favorites, but you also got to remember that, like I've mentioned, you're biasing it towards that. So you got like, okay, well, I'm kind of biasing towards that, so I got to make sure, even though I may not necessarily like doing chest or whatever, I don't like doing chest, but I like doing legs. You want to make sure you're not biasing. Like I'll skip chest day or whatever, or I'll just skip push workouts and to concentrate on legs. You still want to get in those workouts that you don't necessarily like and everything, so you can build like off the like the pillar number 7 is consistency. So that's where you're going to see the real progress, is sticking with stuff for like a few months at a time, and then over the course of months, years, and maybe even decades, you're going to start to see real progress and everything. So like the bro split is yet just another split that you can do. So, and again, they're kind of arbitrary because like one split might work better for you than the other, and also you don't not necessarily want to like bias towards that one all the time, because like you're going to hit plateaus. So it's always good to have like the mix it ups. Like I said, like my favorite split is like the push pull legs, and even though that's the one I like to do, I still mix it up, like doing other types of splits and everything. So that way I'm not just sitting there like after say 8-9 months of doing push pull legs, I'm not seeing any progress. I'm like, oh well, I'll just keep doing it this because this is my favorite. It's a good idea to mix it up. So like even though, like I've said, the push pull legs is my favorite kind of split, I'm currently doing a bunch of the Athlete X programs to kind of mix things up and kind of get ready for next year's Athlete X Games. So, and it's always good to like play around with these different splits to gain the experience. So you know, like once you start seeing that stagnation with like your favorite split, say you do it for 6 months and you're starting to see like a plateau, and you haven't seen any progress in say like a month or two, then you know like, okay, well I haven't done this split. I haven't tried this bro split. Let me try this for like 2 or 3 months, and then move on from there. And so it's always good to mix things up after several months and everything. So next week I'll probably talk about yet another split, and I'll probably be getting into like going a little deeper in nutrition after that and everything.